Hello, bonjour. I'm speaking in French today because the lady that I'm having today is an American sister who is living in Paris. Her name is Tanisha. She's a traveler. She left the US and is living her dreams in Paris. She always wanted to be in Paris. As a French national living outside of France and planning to go back home, so I was curious about interviewing Tanisha because as a black woman living in France, experience is quite different to what was my experience as a French citizen of African origin. I know it's two different things. Stay tuned for this conversation. She's a beautiful woman. I'm gonna stop talking now and then introduce Tanisha.
Sounds good.
Hey, hi
Hey
Tanisha.
there. Hi there. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
so glad when I reach out, I watched your interview with Kyoka. She's so cute. I like her.
Yeah, she is.
She's lovely. And I'm like, I have to interview. I have to reach out and interview because I'm a French national. I'm French. I grew up in France. And you seem to love it living there. And you were talking about, trying to have a longer residency in France
Yes.
because that's the place that you see yourself right now.
Hmm.
So, before we dive deep into your experience in France, I would like you to introduce yourself to our audience. Who is Tanisha? And I know you have a YouTube channel, so can you introduce yourself, your channel, and so we know a little bit about you?
Definitely. Thank you for inviting me to your show. I really appreciate it. For your viewers, hi everyone. My name is Tanisha. My YouTube channel, it details my Paris life, my life in Paris, my life like starting over in a new country and all the adventures. You can follow me on Tanisha underscore Mercer on YouTube. It is a little bit more than a year old, right? I'm a little bit new to the YouTubing, telling my life, sharing my life online, right? I definitely have been in social media up for a long time and have worked within it, but sharing your life is a little bit different, right? It's
Yeah.
different. It's different. So, yeah, I'm 50 years old. I moved to Paris a little bit more than 2 years ago, officially. I'm on a visa, right? I have been traveling to France, to Paris since 2017. In the summer of 2022, I decided that I was going to make like this happen. I, had been coming to Paris so much and I loved coming here. And I decided in the summer of 2022 I would actually do it. So, I've been, here since then.
Wow. I would like to know your first impression of France and what really attracted you to Paris.
For me, so it's a little bit of a backstory. I am a Detroit, Michigan native, right? I'm a Detroit girl and I grew up in Detroit and I've always been into fashion and style.
Yeah.
I
Love the
thought
hat.
thank you, thank you. I thought that at one point I wanted to be a fashion designer and but I don't think I can draw well enough and I can't sew. So I was this, 11, 12-year-old girl looking at these fashion magazines. I was looking at Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and Essence magazine. It's a used to be a black owned publication in the
Yeah.
States, right? So I was looking at all this high fashion and loving it. And what are the places that, for fashion? It's Paris
Yeah.
and Milan, right?
Milan. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought, well, I would love to visit Paris, but I never quite made it. Like I never took me a while. Um, but I always had this dream of wanting to see what Paris looked like, wanting to see what the Parisian life was like. So that's kind of like my backdrop. That's kind of
Wow.
my backdrop of my interest.
So when you then made it, not just traveling back and forth, but lived in France, did your expectation to what life is like in France, in Paris, matched what you actually dreamed of?
I think sometimes we romanticize it a lot as not just as Americans, but everybody
Yeah,
romanticizes, Paris, and
yeah,
oh, it's just champagne and croissants, and you're going to cafes every day.
yeah.
And I think, on one level, I did the same thing. I romanticized it, right? And then I got here, and it is not like, vacationing here and living here are two different things. I think for me, the biggest transition was the weather. So for 15 years, I lived in Atlanta, and mild winters, warm weather, sunshine like every day, right?
Okay, okay.
And I came here, I remember my first winter, and I just was like, "Wait a minute. I don't really think I like this. Like, where is the sun? Why is it so cold and gloomy?" It was a little bit of a, okay, what did I really do? Like, what
Yeah,
did I really do? So, it's very different, but you're right. You have the tourist side and you have the real, real Parisian side. But I do think my travels here, I was always okay. Let me say this. I'm widowed, right? I'm widowed, and my children are adults. So the first time I came here, I I came here like literally a grieving widow. I was grieving the death of my husband of 21 years, right?
wow.
We got married in college, and it just was it was a difficult time. It was a difficult time.
Yeah.
And I came here and just like, it was an amazing trip. I will say this, I came here alone that first time. I have never been alone since, like, coming here. I've always had, like, a companion, usually a very beautiful, French African man, right? But I've this was always a place where I've had good memories, and I've been around the world. Like, I've been to other countries, and I'm like, maybe I'll move here, maybe I'll move there, but no place, although I enjoyed those places, they weren't like France.
Right, right. That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah.
Okay. And you know how in the media picture France as the romantic city,
Yes. Yes.
city of romance,
Of love.
of love, etc. Would you agree with that today?
I do agree with that. I do. I do. I think it has changed a bit. And I think that when I first arrived here, like, there was this, you know, like, me as an American, there's a certain level of interest and intrigue. And I will, admit that, right?
Yeah.
And but I think as a culture, the French are, I think they recognize the value of just romantic relationships.
Yeah.
In the US, it's sometimes can feel like the total opposite.
Okay. That's interesting. We may come back to that a little bit later.
Okay.
Um, there's something that I want to touch up with you. It's a bit sensitive for me to
Okay.
talk about it simply because can be controversial. I'm a French citizen. I grew up in France. Everything
Okay.
that I know about life I learned in France.
Okay.
And but I'm African origin, and I
Mhm.
heard a lot of your interviews about how you love France, and but you were also very honest about the challenges that you had
Yes.
in France, and we'll come back to that.
Yes.
But I'm often surprised and maybe even a little bit jealous, I would say. And I'm meeting it here live
Okay. Okay.
of
Okay.
the experience of my black sisters from America,
Yes.
let's say,
Yes.
in France. Because as a French person, I cannot relate, you
I
know,
understand. Yeah.
because my experience in France was very hard as a black African woman.
Okay.
I ran away from France and came to the UK, and I didn't want to go back to France because in the UK, there's something about uh, giving everybody their chance, right?
Okay.
If you have the competence, if you have people judge you for what you can do, I
Mhm.
don't walk with my skin on my back here. I walk
Okay.
around as jazz.
Okay.
In France, I couldn't do that. I couldn't have the business that I have. I couldn't have the experience that I have here. So I'm
Okay.
very interested for you to share about your experience as a Black American, like a African American in France, and what was your experience there?
So for me, Jazz, it's like it's very different. And I will say that up front, right? I
Yeah.
will say that with my chest up front that my experience is very different than like perhaps your experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I recognize that difference. Traveling here so much, I recognize that difference. Um, I, was dating someone for years here, right? My partner, form ex-partner. And so I really got to see up close, he's from the Ivory Coast, right?
Oh,
He's and
right.
living in France, right? We know that, France colonized all these African countries, right?
Yeah.
So I got a really close view of how they would treat him and how they would treat me and how the treatment was different once I began speaking or once they were like, oh, ooh la la, like, this intrigue with me because I'm, I don't, I dress different, right? I dress different. You,
Yeah.
you can't look at me and say, oh, I think she's maybe Parisian because I don't dress like the people here for the most part.
Okay.
So I would see how the treatment would change instantly. And I realize and recognize that for the for the African French people who are here, it is a very different experience than the one that I myself would have as an American. And I have this different American privilege that I don't have at home.
Yeah. And that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yes,
yeah.
that's something that we can dive into. And I appreciate you, for being upfront and talking about it, and allow my vulnerability here talking about that, because we are from the same community, Exodus Summit.
Yes,
And so I know that the lady of Exhibit Summit talk really about empowering women, and being able to live free as the Black women that we are wherever we
yes,
go in the world, right?
yes.
And so for me to see how another Black sister is being treated, experienced in France, is something that I find really interesting. Because the thing is, before I came into the Exodus Summit, for me, African American, you don't really think in that term. You see Americans.
I think that's the difference because for me, I am American here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like in my neighborhood, people don't know my name, but they're like, "Oh, the American," right?
yeah, yeah,
Necessarily. Number one, they can't pronounce my name right. And I that's within French, right? The H is silent. So it's like
yeah,
Tanisa, Tanisa, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I'm known as the American. I'm the US, it's never like that for Black people in America. America will always remind you that you are
yeah,
Black. And
yeah,
so we are proudly Black first, and we're like the nationality is second. And that's very different when you come to other countries, right? And you are more so recognized for your country of origin. Maybe not race, may be second or whatever, right? Like
yeah,
if I don't like you, for example, it might be because you're from a certain country. It may or may not be because of your race. Where in the US, everything reminds you of the fact that you are Black. And I'm not saying Black being from a negative perspective. This is their perspective. I don't share the same perspective,
yeah,
but they will constantly remind you that to go like, oh, go back. You should go back to Africa. You should go back to wherever. You're not really American.
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So
100%.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I find fascinating, because what you just spoke about, this is what I experienced living in France. Go back to Africa.
Go back. Okay,
I'm
right.
more French living outside of France. Like in the
Mm.
UK, I'm a French person. Wherever I go, I'm French. You know?
And and I
It's
feel the same way. I feel
yeah,
I feel more American living outside of America,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
because that's my reality. At when I am in America, it is stressful, right? As
Yeah.
a Black American, my life is stressful.
Yeah.
And I am reminded of the negative connotations that people have about Black people. I am reminded of hundreds of years of white supremacy and racism.
Yeah.
It's a constant reminder.
Yeah.
So I mean, I understand.
Yeah. And just to I don't want to stay too long on that, so we need to go to the fun stuff as well. It's that what I appreciate with you talking about that, and all the other sisters that are African American, their experience and the way they are treated outside. It makes me happy because there's nothing worse than being treated as a second class citizen in your own country.
You're right. It's
Right?
nothing worse than that.
So as Black people as a whole, I know we have differences according to where we come from. But the
Mhm.
thing is, when you are Black, you wear your skin wherever you go, usually,
You do.
right? So when you can have privilege, accept it, enjoy it, because we often have to fight to just exist and be.
We do. Indeed, we do.
Yeah. So yeah, live your best life in France and take all the privilege that you can, because I do as well. When I go
Yeah.
outside, because I live so long outside of Africa, people
Okay.
don't always identify me as being African. And
Okay.
because of the way I talk as well, I have a privilege that I recognize that when I go outside, if I have my sister from Africa talking with her accent from Africa and
Mhm.
me, I will have a privilege over her, right?
Yes. Yes.
So yes. Anyway, let's move on. I want to come back to fashion because this is your forte as well, right? You into fashion. I can see with your attire and everything. There's
Yes.
something that made me run away from France as well. It's like every time I have to go back to France, I'd make sure that I'm dressed properly and whatever I have in my bag will match, because French people are noisy. I don't know if you've experienced that. It's like somebody in the street, even without talking to you, will look at you up and down if you're not dressed properly. In the UK, I don't experience that. You can go outside with your pajamas. People don't care about
You
you.
don't care?
No, not at all. Did you experience that? Like
Uh-uh.
fashion is something that is so prevalent and important in Paris that you
I mean, yes, I must admit, yes. So they definitely will look you up and down, right? I mean, the way I dress, I don't have the big earrings on, but usually I have very large hoop earrings. I've got like this necklace here. I know
I love it. That's
A French
beautiful.
woman would never wear this necklace. Okay,
Yeah.
my style is definitely probably more exaggerated. I'm sure you know the style here. It's a little bit more
Yeah.
muted and minimal. So people constantly look at me. You know, for me, I've always dressed different. So no matter if I'm in America or from here, I'm the same, like the same fashion and the same sense of style. I think the difference is, and you're right, people are not going to wear their pajamas here outside. It would never happen, right? But for me, some aspects of the culture have rubbed off a little bit.
Okay.
Just in like leggings, for example. In the US, we wear leggings with a blazer, a sweater. Like here, they don't, it doesn't happen unless you're actually exercising, right?
Exercising. I know.
So
Yes.
it's little things like, I'm like, okay, I've always worn trench coats, but like my trench coat game is better, right? My just certain things, I've just kind of refined it a bit, but I will never like fit into French culture because my style is different.
Right.
I'm usually wearing, I don't have it on now, but like I'll have an armful of bangles. you
Yeah.
know, French women don't, women in France don't usually dress like that. So,
No, it's real, as you say, it's very minimal. It's
yeah,
blazer,
yeah,
black usually, it's jean,
yes.
yeah, something very,
And
yeah.
I love color. So I love color. So I love color, vibrant, rich colors. I feel like that looks great against our beautiful
Y-
skin, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm
exactly.
automatically going to stand out.
Yeah. Anyway, you should, and you're beautiful, by the way.
Thank
Uh,
you. Same to you. You're beautiful as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So, what is a typical day for you look like in France? In France, sorry, I'm just curious. Like,
It, you know what? It, my life is so different here. And so I think a big part of my life here and the things, the lessons I've learned is that, there are parts of French culture that are kind of that do rub off on you. And I think that, resting, relaxing, friendship,
a
w-
siesta.
yeah, like being in the US is usually about, and I'll say this for viewers on your channel. I do, I totally recognize, and I've talked to enough Black women here in France, right? To know that sometimes they'll ask me, "Well, why did you move here?" Or they'll say, "Oh, I want to move to America." And I totally get it because, there's the education thing, there's a career thing. I get it. So I did the opposite, right? Like in America, you have to hustle. You have to grind. I've
Yeah,
had
yeah.
I've had, multiple jobs at once. I've had a job and run a business with 28 employees.
Wow.
I have been busy, right? And so now I'm at the point where the way I live my life, I don't know if I would have imagined this maybe 5 years ago. Like
Okay.
just the cafe culture, making friends, like the drive through doesn't like, we're so used to them in America, like time is money. Time is money.
Right.
And I'm in a culture now where you enjoy your friends, you enjoy your time. It is, I have to remind myself that I'm not in America because sometimes we define ourselves by our work and how
Yeah,
busy we are in America, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I have to remember that I'm in a totally different place. Like back home, if I told someone that I'm working on weekends, they would be like, okay. But here it's like, what? Like,
no,
w-
no,
it's like, "N- no, it's not good, right?
yeah,
So I'm constantly, it's a battle with like sometimes with what I have to do and the things I have to do with French culture. It's like almost like an internal pull, right?
yeah,
Because you're in the heart of all these things and activities, and it's about savoring, a nice glass of wine, enjoying your family, your friends. So
yeah, exactly. Having a 2 hours, lunch, dinner, or, enjoying really food, taking your time. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. This is the part of, even there's something that you cannot remove from when you grew up somewhere. The French person in me is like when I joined the Exodus Summit, family. I couldn't understand at first when you guys were talking about, quitting the 9 to 5, liberating, etc. I couldn't understand what it meant until I listened to so many interviews. I couldn't
Yes.
live like that. The French is me is like work-life balance. The balance is more toward life, like work. I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
we're fighting for the 35 hours work week,
Hmm.
and even that, the holidays are extremely important. And so the way I was speaking with a few women that were like in America, you're even afraid to take your holidays because you could be losing your job, and like you have 2 weeks per year to go on holiday. That's crazy to me.
See, and we think, and it's so crazy because we think that you guys are, are like initially before coming here, right? The thought is that, oh, you got like, wow, you guys are crazy, right? Because it's like you get how much time do you get? And you mean you take a month off? You mean you
Yes,
get 7 weeks, 6, 7 weeks? Do you know how long I had to work in corporate America to get 5 weeks off? I had to work like 5 years to get 5 weeks off.
that's crazy.
Because I started off, you get 2 weeks in most corporate salary positions. You get 2 weeks off, right? Vacation. And I negotiated 3. It took me 4 years to get to 5 weeks a year. So
Yeah,
it's very different. And as Americans, we're always worried that, you know, you might lose your job. You take short vacations. You take, 4 days here, 4 days there.
Yeah,
Maybe a
no.
week, maybe 2 days. Like if you've got a holiday, a federal holiday, right? Like you
Yeah,
take, to try to get more time. But it's very, very, very different.
yeah. And I understand why so many women burn out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, what I told my kid is no, I have a 20 years old, no, 22 and 26. She's gonna, yeah. And I told them never be loyal to a company. Never.
never. We've definitely, I mean, yeah, I think that like we know that lesson as I think like as a black woman and black people, we know that lesson too. Don't be loyal. But
Yeah,
I think that I can honestly say I think that you guys, and I say you guys meaning just different cultures, right, outside of the US.
yeah,
I think that we got it wrong, right?
yeah,
We
yeah,
got it wrong. You're in a rat race and you're like a hamster on a wheel and
yeah,
you can't keep up.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. The carrot
yeah,
keep, keep going further and, from
exactly.
you and yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So, what is one thing that you know about the life in France that you wish other Black women knew about?
I wish I really honestly want this for my Black American sisters especially, is just to come here and visit, right? Come here and visit, see how people live, see how people are going about their daily life. Come here and date as a Black American woman, right?
Yeah,
See what the dating life is like. I promise you that it is very, very different in a lot of good ways, right?
yeah.
For me, I want us to travel. I've been to probably like 30 countries, right?
Wow.
And
Okay.
I've got a lot more to go. Like I'm not anywhere near done, but I think it's really important that we get out of America and see how other folks live. And whether that's going to South Africa or whatever, Tanzania or whatever, just to get out, like just to see your perspective. Travel changes you. Travel, it
Absolutely.
opens your perspectives,
Yeah,
right? And it forces you to question what you've been taught.
yeah. And so you've said that you have children, adult children, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
And so how did they took the fact that you left America? Did they travel with you or
So my youngest, what I ended up doing is okay, so let me go back a little bit. I came to France in 20 came to Paris in 2017. By 2018, I said, you know what? I could live here. I can see myself living here. And I kept talking about it. But I didn't actually make it happen until like 4 years later, right?
Mhm.
And my children initially were my youngest daughter. She had finished undergrad. And so we came to France together. By that point, I told her, I'm moving. And I'm like, do you want to come with me? And she was like, I'll see, right? I'll see. So we came here for 1 month in August. We came to Paris. And I knew I had been here enough times. I was always here. I had been here enough times to where I knew this is where I wanted to be. She wasn't so sure. And so we came here for a month. We stayed here, for a month-long holiday. And it was actually a working holiday because I was still working and she was too, right?
Okay.
We were telecommuting. But she didn't like it.
Okay.
She did not. She was like, I don't like the food. I don't like the culture. I can't speak the language. I'm good. Right? Like, I don't want to live here. And so that's her right to say that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But my children overall, they knew this was a place like that made me happy. And like my kids having lost my spouse, right? They
Yeah.
just really wanted like me to be happy.
Yeah.
I think they were a little surprised when I kind of pushed the button, so to speak, and moved because I had talked about it for so long, but I didn't do any action towards it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's probably like the hardest thing for me being here is just, having to go back often, like missing my children, like missing giving my children a hug. That's difficult. And my mom and my family, being back in the States.
Yeah. So do you get to go back often to see family? Do they come to you as well?
I do. So the first year, like I went back 4 times in
Oh,
less than a year. I
okay.
was always on the plane going back. But and I felt like I had a there was a wedding, my sister got married, we had a family reunion. I didn't want to miss those things, right? So I flew back and all that. Um Having the kids come see me, like my youngest daughter, the one who does not like friends, right? She came here in August, and we spent August and September together, and we were traveling around, right? We went to Cape Town, and we also went to Zurich. And she still feels the same way about France, but it's difficult. Like my mom does not travel at all, so
Okay.
I'll always have to get on a plane to see her, right? I'm trying to convince my other siblings to like come on over, come and visit. The good thing is that Paris is a place that people love to come to.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
have had so many friends that have come over here to visit. I mean, they didn't visit me, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I know I'm in Paris. I'll see you when I'm in Paris, but I've
Yeah.
never lived a place where people actually, you know, like a destination
Yeah.
place. Kinda.
That I'm very interested about that because I'm married
Okay.
and I have two adult children. So I say
Okay.
22 and 26, almost 27 now. But they
Okay.
still live with us. They left home and then they came back
We'll
because,
come
well,
back.
it's
Okay.
so expensive right now
It
that they came back
is.
home.
It is.
And I'm planning a sabbatical, a year-long sabbatical starting in June. For my
Oh,
birthday,
I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
thank you. I'm gonna
I
just
love it.
53. And I want to experience a year by myself traveling the world. And I've postponed it many, many times because of the guilt. I do
Okay.
travel, but I travel, come back 2 months after 1 month. This time I want to go for 1 year. And I
Okay.
still have that battle within myself, like, okay, how about the kids? How about
Right.
they're big kids, they're not babies,
Right. Right.
but they're two neurodivergent. One is ADHD, the other one is autistic, but highly functioning one.
Okay.
Uh, and my husband is like very understanding, but
Yes.
still there's the mom guilt,
The
there's the
mom.
woman guilt. Even
The
you for your mom, for the people at home.
yes.
So how do you keep in touch? I know today there's WhatsApp, there's everything.
Eh, Yeah, it's a lot of, FaceTime, it's a lot of
Yeah,
WhatsApp, it's a lot of texting. I like FaceTime a little bit more because, you can actually see them. I can actually see them, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's difficult as a mom, and my kids are around the same ages that yours are.
yeah,
So mine are 27, 20, she'll be 20 27, 26 in May, and then 24, right? So they're all young adults. They're all like on their own. The
yeah.
youngest is still, she's got a little bit more, like maybe 6 months of grad school left, right? So they're all on their own. And that was important for me, like in some ways to leave, I had to make sure that everybody was good,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I honestly could have left sooner because, like, once your kids go off, whether it's college or whether it's their first job or whatever, they're not really thinking about you. Like, we
No.
think about them because we're mothers. We're mothers until the day we're out of
Until
here
forever. It's
forever. And
yeah,
even in the
yeah,
afterlife, you're still you know what I'm trying to say?
yeah.
But I think, like, my kids are fine and your kids are going to be fine. They're going to be
Absolutely.
fine.
Yeah, and they're encouraging me, they're like, go live your
Yes.
life, have fun because I
Yes.
know traveling is like something that I love. Because I know I've seen on your description, I'm going to put it here. It's we
Okay.
uplift, motivate, and inspire Black women to live the travel lives. Oh, I think I
Yes.
think I read it wrong, but anyway, like you encourage women, Black women, to travel and really live their dreams, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's a passion of mine because I have many friends and family members who don't travel, right? I have some who are like they're afraid to travel. A very close family member who I would love to spoil with trips. My mother, I don't think she would. I don't think she's going to be too mad at me for saying this, but like she doesn't travel. So for me, travel is liberating. It is freedom, and I want Black women to experience that. I want us to experience what life is like outside of the U.S. Just even if you can only get a week or 5 days here, 5 days there, go to those countries. It doesn't have to be France. It doesn't have to be Europe. Just like get out of the US bubble. For me, I am the granddaughter of sharecroppers, okay, in the US. And my family history is one in which, there wasn't a whole lot of money, right?
Okay.
I am living, you know, the life I live now, like this life would not have been possible for like my grandparents. My grandparents raised me. So this life that I live now in another country would have eh, not necessarily been something that they could have done. So for me, travel it's a deeper meaning behind it for me. And I want Black American women, just Black women wherever throughout the diaspora to experience that.
Exactly, exactly. And also, a lot of people feel Black women, because I know for me, people will tell me, how can you afford to travel? Right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And a lot of people think it's really something impossible for them.
Right.
What would you tell them? Because how did you make it possible for yourself? Because you're only 50. So that's not
Right.
retirement age. Do you consider yourself being retired right now?
In some ways I am. I am a unemployed worker in tech, right? And I'm unemployed in tech, and
Yeah.
I'm rebuilding my trajectory, right? My career trajectory as a consultant in user experience and AI. Okay. So I'm in
Oh,
this weird phase of life. Um but yeah, it's very much, this is a different phase of life for me. I'm enjoying the ups, kind of like the ups and the downs that come along with it. It's very different. It's very different. Yeah,
yeah.
very different.
For me, what I call retirement, I don't know what's your definition. It's not so much not doing anything. For
Right.
me, when you create your own business, work for yourself and do the things that
Yes.
you love and choose when you work and when you don't, for me, that's a form of retirement for me. Is the fact that it's not someone else who dictate the way I need to live my life and when I can take time off. You know,
Right.
that's the difference for me. Yeah. What's your definition of retirement?
I think it's that definition. I mean, so by that definition, technically, am I living that life right now? Kinda, yeah. For the
Yeah.
past year, I have for sure. But for me, it's about, like you said, it's about that freedom. It's
Yes.
about not having to clock in, so to speak, not
Yeah.
having to ask anyone, can I take 2 weeks? Can I
Permission.
put a vacation request in? Can I take a week off or whatever? You
Yeah.
know, um, I don't think I'll ever like not like I'll say this. I don't know if I'll ever not work. I'm always going to be doing something.
Something. Yeah.
The difference is that I get to pick what it is that I am spending my time on. I'm not being told what to do, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
Absolutely.
it's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. And another thing is, you a solo traveler, would you say? Because on your channel, you,
I
yeah.
am I am a solo traveler. And going back to your other question, I'm sorry, I don't think I answered all of your question. You were also talking about like just like the like kind of like the finances or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
I
Hmm.
didn't begin traveling internationally until about maybe 2012.
Okay.
So, like I didn't get my first passport until 2024. I'm
Okay.
sorry, 2014.
14. Yeah.
My
Okay.
passport expired last year. It's 10 years, right? So I didn't get my official passport until then. I didn't really start really didn't start internationally traveling until about, like I said, 2012 or so, 2011, 2012. So it's not that I've always traveled, because I haven't. My children were younger. Um, it is about setting your priorities, right? And it, because what ends up happening is that the money you have, you end up spending it on something else.
Yeah.
So you end up like, you're buying the bags, you're buying the clothes, or whatever your thing is.
Mm-hmm.
You're spending it on that. And for me, travel is a priority. I don't really care about things like cars, possessions. I don't, for me personally, that's not my priority. And everyone is different.
Yeah.
Everyone is different.
I totally agree with that. Uh, y- s- People around me, and this is why finding that community on YouTube is amazing,
It
because
is.
I felt crazy, like not normal, like a black African woman, married with kid, traveling by yourself. Why? Because in my community, they will tell you, where are you going, woman? Your husband
Exactly.
is at home. Where are you going?
Yes.
And when I find Stephanie Perry first talking, a black woman looking like me, traveling, I'm like, huh? You know? And then I saw all of you, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's possible. And there's nothing better than going out there, to find yourself, because when you travel, it's an amazing experience.
It
And
really is.
traveling solo, a lot of people are scared of traveling solo. They find they will feel lonely or alone. What's your experience traveling solo as a black woman, especially?
For me, I knew that I could not wait. I could not. I was in a position, remember I started traveling with my husband, and he
Yeah.
was the person that really encouraged. If you can believe this, when we started traveling, I initially was like, "Well, I think we should save our money. Our kids are going to be in college soon." I was, I was like, I was not on board. And so he at the time was like, "Listen, I really want us to travel together. These are things that I want to do. I want to travel with you. I want to travel with, the kids." And
Ah,
so we began traveling. Now I'm at the point to where I don't wait on anybody. I began coming here. I came here alone. And once I don't know if I got to plug up my battery here. Excuse me one second.
that's okay.
Once I started traveling, I noticed that everyone was like, "Oh, I've always wanted to go there. I'm scared. I'm afraid." There is a certain level of fearlessness you have to have, right? And when I say fearlessness, it really means like if you are a black woman, I don't care where you are, you already are equipped to handle whatever is going to come up, right? Like we're already equipped to handle it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think, culturally, like my mom is like, "Well, why are you going there? Do you know anybody there?" And I'm like, "Mom, like that's the whole point. The whole point is that I want to go see something different, you know? So I
Yeah.
think people have a fear of travel. Like people in our community sometimes have a fear. Something as bad is going to happen. Like you said, why are you leaving your family? If I waited for people to travel with me, I would never go anywhere.
Totally agree. For me, it's my husband was a consultant, so he traveled the world. He's
Okay.
been
Okay.
everywhere. The
Okay.
guy now doesn't want to go anywhere. He doesn't want to go anywhere. But at that time, I was looking after the kids. But we agreed
Okay.
that it's my time to go, and I'm
Yes.
okay to go by myself. And
Right.
so, yeah, you said that you traveled to more than 30 countries, right?
Yes, I
Can
have.
you, can you tell us a little bit, like, which continent have you been to? Every continent already?
No, I've still got a whole lot more to go. I honestly want to do more travel in Africa.
Hmm.
I was supposed to go to a trip to Ghana during the pandemic in like 2020. That didn't happen, obviously. I did make it to South Africa over the fall in September and loved it, had a
Okay.
great time. So I do want to do more countries in Africa. I want to do more in Asia. I have been to Asia, but like I've been to like Turkey, the Asia
Oh, okay.
side of Turkey. So not like
Yeah.
Japan or Vietnam or Thailand. So there are all these places that I do want to go. I've got some of my favorites. Like I love Cuba. Cuba
Yeah.
is Cuba is Cuba is everything. Like it's an incredibly um diverse, but it's a black country. And I
Tell me
felt
more.
I
That's
felt
okay.
welcomed. I felt welcomed by people who looked like us, who
Oh,
told
in
me,
Cuba.
who told in Cuba, who told
Okay.
me like welcome home, sister. And so
Okay.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
adding that to my list
Add
right
that to your
now.
list.
Okay.
Add that to
Okay.
your list.
Yeah.
Bring Yeah, add that to your list. They
Sorry.
take you they take euros. I'm assuming they take pounds, but usually a European currency is no problem. With
Yeah.
the embargo, the trade embargo with the US, it's always a little bit more difficult for me, right?
Yeah.
As an
Yeah.
American,
Yeah.
because it's limitations in place, but you won't have the same experience. But it's a lovely place to go. There's so many more places that I want to go to.
I want to
So
hear more about Cuba because Cuba is one of the country where people will warn you not to go because it's
yeah.
unsafe. What was your experience? How long did you stay there? And yeah,
I've been to Cuba 3 times. I went in
right.
2017, 2018. I went to Cuba 2017 and twice in 2018. Um, mm, Cuba is a safe country for the most part, right? Like
Okay.
it, no, that was probably one of the first places. I mean, literally going up and down the street at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I wouldn't do that in America.
2 a.m.,
Uh,
3 a.m. in Cuba.
in Cuba. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that in America at all. So, Cuba is for the most part, I felt that it was safe. Um, I will say this, there are different laws in place if a crime happens to a tourist as opposed to a Cuban citizen.
Right.
So, with that said, Cuba for me was overwhelmingly safe. I had no issues. I love the fact that seeing artwork of Black women who look like me, right?
Wow.
Seeing
Okay.
ourselves reflected.
Right.
Okay. There is a love of the African culture there. And but as a US citizen, we always get the propaganda side, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what to expect when I went. I wasn't sure what to expect. And I'm really glad that I went. I really want to go back very soon.
That's thank you because Cuba was not on my list because I'm really trying to go to places where I can find Black people, African diaspora, the African diaspora, wherever they. But
Yes.
Cuba was not on my list because I was afraid. I have to be honest. I have.
Okay.
I was a bit afraid of safety, although somebody would go anywhere.
Right,
And
right.
so, yeah, the way you talk about it really gives me like, yeah, I definitely want to go and check Cuba out and see how it goes.
You you should definitely go. I think that initially, like I was used to the Cubans who were in America, right? Who those tended to be amongst the elite class,
Hmm.
lighter skinned
Right, I
Cubans.
see.
The
Yeah,
Cubans who look like you and I, they're still there, right?
right.
And families, it's a great mix of, I mean, Cuba, unfortunately, Cuba has a history of enslavement, just like me being a Black American in the US.
Yeah,
So that is responsible for that mixture of beautiful skin tones, right?
yeah.
But I promise you, I saw so many people who look like me, and it was very welcoming.
Wow, wow. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And within your travel, is there a country that really stole your heart? And so, one where you'd be like, not so much for Black women.
Mm, I don't. You're saying a country that stole my heart, but
Yeah,
maybe.
apart from Paris, like you living in Paris, but like
Oh.
within your travels, a country that you like felt, I don't know, that you fell in love with, and
mm,
that you would recommend other people to visit.
Let's see. I think it depends. Like for me, I've been to okay, honestly, before France, I thought
Yeah.
maybe that I would move to Mexico. And so
Okay.
I traveled there and I checked it out. And I had been there before, but I was on a like a scouting trip. And initially, I was like, "I don't know." Now, in the Exodus Summit community, there are tons of
Yes.
women who are in Mexico. At the
Yeah.
time, I was looking at Tulum, right? And Tulum was like the hot spot. Everyone was visiting there. Well, I didn't pick Tulum, I didn't pick Mexico, but I can understand why, if you're looking for a country, for example, that's close to the US and you're looking to baby step, right? Go to, San Miguel Allende, Guadalajara. There's so many places in Mexico. Merida. Some people love Merida. There's so many, places for people who are looking to. They don't want to make a big move. They
Yeah.
just want to get out of the U.S. and
Yeah.
they want to have close proximity, right? Where else have I been that I absolutely loved? Um, Maybe when I slow down a little bit, maybe Portugal.
Portugal is nice. Have you been already?
I have. I had a
Oh,
very
you've
good
been.
time.
Yeah.
I had a very good time there, and I'm like I said, I'm also interested in going to other, countries in Africa just to like, I hear great things about Rwanda, right?
Rwanda. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been.
Kenya.
Yeah.
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 There's so many potential places.
So was South Africa, Cape Town was the first country in Africa that you visited?
It was, and I think it's funny because I mentioned, someone that I was dating, and I mentioned, "Oh, I'm going to South Africa," and this person is from an African country, right? And they
Hmm.
were like, "Oh, that's not." They were like, "Oh, that's not really Cape Town." They're like, but I can understand because, when I went there, it felt very much like the US with the architecture.
Hmm.
And if I close my eyes, I'm like, it feels like I'm in like America.
Yeah.
With the Dutch architecture and all of that stuff. But I still have a whole lot more exploring to do
Yeah.
within the continent.
Yeah. Well, South Africa is an easy entry to Africa.
Yes.
You are on the soil, on the
Yes.
continent, and
Yes.
so but it's true that even I, as an African, I've been to Johannesburg before.
Okay.
I don't like too much Johannesburg because I don't like big city. But
Okay.
I fell in love with Cape Town. Although, yes, as you said, Cape Town or South Africa is really like very reurbanized,
Yes.
so it's
Yes.
not really like I won't say the true Africa.
Right.
But
I understand what you're saying.
it's
I
not.
understand.
Yeah, when I went with the Exodus Summit, and then after the meetup, I went to Namibia,
Okay.
and then from Namibia very much like South Africa, although very beautiful. But then I went to Zambia to see the Victoria Falls, and
Ooh,
oh, it's if there's a place that I recommend you to go, it's either the Zimbabwean side or Zambia.
yes.
Victoria Falls is amazing, and Zambian are very welcoming. They're nice people. I really enjoyed my time there. And it's funny that the more you go in the center of Africa, you go up,
Mhm.
you find the I don't know, the raw vibe of Africans. Like in Zambia, I felt more at home, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen those beautiful, stunning photos of Victoria Falls, right? I mean, like, just, God's creation, right? It's like
Oh,
and even me being in South Africa, I was like, um, for people who do believe in God, right? I'm
yeah.
like, there's n I can't look at this and say there's not a God,
I
right?
know. I
The
know.
beauty that's there, like, this is only God could have created this, in my opinion. But I do want to experience that because 'cause I've seen the photos and I've seen just the beauty, the absolute beauty that's there. So I
Yeah.
do want to experience that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Do go and let me know. It's an amazing thing. I was crying. I was like, oh my
Really?
God. Yeah. Because like for me, as somebody who lived abroad a lot, it
Okay.
was a reconnection with Mother Africa. and seeing the beauty that Victoria Fall. And actually, I believe in God. And I
Yes.
was like, my goodness, this is amazing. This is it's so beautiful. And this
Yes.
being on the soil of Africa, I was like, oh my, I was in heaven. It's just
Oh,
beautiful.
oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So, Denisha, I'm conscious of the time. I don't know how long I can keep you. I have a
We
few more questions. Are you okay?
sure we got some time. Yeah, I have time.
Excellent. So, is there anything that you miss from about the US?
I mean, for me, yes, I definitely, there are things I miss. I miss like the comfort food at times. There's certain things that I can't get here, right?
Okay,
Like
like
in
what?
terms like okay, for example, it's a Black American tradition, right?
Mhm.
And New Year's Eve and Christmas. So for New Year's Eve, for example, you have what's called collard greens and black eyed peas. And it's thought to be for luck. The greens are meant to be money and the
Oh,
beans are meant to be like, coins or whatever. And that is definitely our traditions are built around food, right? Even though and I'm a type of person that I don't believe that all of the links from Africa were broken, right? They were not broken. Things are different, but they were not broken. So I'm here in France. I can barely find collard greens. I know I can't get black eyed peas, right?
did you
And
go to
so
the shops, the exotic shop?
yeah, I can find collard greens sometimes, but like the black eyed peas, no. I would have to get
Okay,
those. I would have to like lentils or some other replacement, right? But
all
it's
right.
not black eyed peas. So that's a New Year's Eve tradition that we often do. So I miss the food, I sometimes miss also just Black American culture, right?
Yeah,
I love the fact that I'm here and there are so many beautiful people from so many African countries here, right? But it is definitely different from Black
yeah,
American culture. So
yeah.
sometimes I miss that, right? It's little things, that I find myself missing sometimes.
Right. So, would you say that it's easy because in France there's a lot of it's very cosmopolite? Did you
Yes.
find maybe a community of like Black American that you can meet time to time? Is there a lot of Black Americans?
There are a lot of Black Americans here, a good bit, right? So there is a community here, especially in Paris. When I first lived here, when I first moved here, initially I moved outside of Paris to the suburbs, the banlieue or whatever of
Where did you go?
Paris.
La banlieue?
Banlieue. It was I went to Melun. I may be pronouncing that wrong. Melun, Melun, it's like it's
Oh, I see.
the
It's not.
far suburbs, Damary
Yeah,
Lalis, like the
yeah,
far suburbs.
yeah.
So that's like an hour and 20 minutes outside of Paris.
It's Melun. I see.
Milan.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry I'm pronouncing that
Seine-et-Marne.
wrong, but yes,
Seine-et-Marne.
I'm learning
Yeah.
I'm learning French. Yeah, but so originally I was living there, but it was very different because I felt like the community over there was very overall welcoming, but I was so far from Paris, right?
Yeah.
And most of like your Black Americans living in Paris, they're within the city or they're close to it.
Yeah.
So I definitely, have built relationships with other Black Americans here. Some of them have been here for 20, 30 plus years. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So, is that something that you wish you knew before moving to France? And advice really for somebody, a Black woman considering France. What are the myths that and what can you
I,
tell them?
I would say for me, I'm going to say that what I wish I had done is building more of a community before I left, right? To kind of walk into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you mentioned Exodus Summit, and I love Stephanie and Rashida and the whole gang, right, over at Exodus Summit. And it's great because that is a community, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish that I realized the importance of a community in your new place. Because a lot of times we think we're leaving, in which you are. You're leaving your native country, but then you're moving somewhere else. And I just think as Black people, we thrive in community, right? So
Absolutely.
I wish that, I'd done that. I wish that the language, if you're thinking about coming here, like don't do like I did and not, you know, study the language if you can before you move, right? It's yeah,
Yeah.
because those are the types of things that are going to help you make friends. The French culture is very different, and if you're not speaking the language, it's a barrier. So I wish that I had focused a little bit more on building a community and a little bit more on learning the language before I moved over.
Yeah. But to be honest with you, French language is difficult.
It's so
And
difficult.
it's a language that you learn better when you are immersed, when you are in the country.
Yes. Yes.
You can learn the vocabulary of it and you know how to make sentences and the trois
Yes.
sentences together, right?
Oui. Oui.
But when you have to speak French, it's completely different. Yeah.
Compliqué, compliqué.
C'est très
Yes.
compliqué. Ton français est très bien. Il faut pratiquer régulièrement. It's important. Like it's a, you know, it's a language that even I, as a French person, sometimes I don't know how to say bird because, like, I forget the language if I don't speak it often. So, yeah,
It's difficult because some words, like for me, it's difficult saying the R in French
ouais,
because you're not we pronounce it so differently. And for you it's effortless, right? Because this is your native language, right?
yeah,
But it's like I have the hardest time saying the way that it sounds, and it's like you have to say it from the back of your throat.
yeah, the,
And it's a total
yeah,
different
yeah,
it's you don't we're not taught the same in the, English language is not the mouth placement is different, right? So I
yeah.
have to kind of like wait a minute, like how I and I still it's still a challenge. It's still
You
a
know,
challenge.
it's still a challenge for me to speak English, honestly.
Really?
Yes, when I came, I couldn't speak. I went to university. I learned English. I could write, but when I came for the first time, Lord, somebody spoke to me. I thought they were speaking Chinese. Like I'm like, what are they saying? It took me a year to be not comfortable, but kind of understand really and be able to
Yeah.
talk. And the barrier that we have as adult is like we overthink the language
Yes.
and we are too self-conscious. You know, as you were
Yes.
saying to say the word, let's say rouge, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
you may not be able to say rouge because
Right.
that is not something
Yep.
that's natural for somebody who's not the language.
Yes.
It's okay. You just have like kids, you just have to talk and then make all the mistakes, and that's the way you learn the language. Uh,
It's
it's
true. It's just that when I started speaking French, trying to speak French, right? And it's like like you said, you overthink it. And I'm trying to think of every word. And I'm like, okay, okay, in my head, right?
yeah.
But then like I'll, practice it. Like yesterday, I went to the vet with my pet, right? With my dog.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna practice this to ask these questions. And honestly, people just start speaking to me in English.
You tell them no. You say you tell them you want to learn
Want to
and
practice.
you want to practice and you need them to help you by letting you speak in French.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I understand that the vet may not want to take that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, if you have some friends, did you manage to have like French friends? Do you have a lot of French friends with whom you can practice?
I don't have a lot of French friends, and that's a challenge for me. I have one particular friend who we meet about every other day or so,
Hmm.
and she's a woman in my neighborhood. She's actually she's a bit older than
Hmm.
we are, a lot older than we are, and she's a former like fashion designer and stylist. So we connected on fashion, and so she always is telling me, speak French, or she's talking to me in French. My former partner, he would speak to me in English because he was learning English, but eventually we began speaking more French to each other, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I will speak English, let's do a trade-off, right? English slash French. So it does help. I think that I know that my challenge is that I know the words that I need for my daily life and the phrases, but putting it all together is the difficult part for me. So, but you're right. You need people to help practice.
It's the best way because when I arrived in the UK, I couldn't put a sentence together. I
Yeah.
could say hello, how are you? Or my
Okay.
name is like a very nasty French, French accent. And then what I did the first year is I didn't want to see any French people. Like I didn't
Okay.
want to have anyone French near me because
Okay.
I knew that if I was in the French community,
You would go back to it.
yes, I would just be
Yeah.
speaking French.
Right.
So I
Right.
really forced myself to be around British people
Okay.
and listening to those soap opera, like the very cheesy, soap movies,
Yeah.
to kind of hear the language and repeat some sentences. So
Ye- I'm
yeah,
always, I mean, I'm looking at Netflix, with the French subtitles.
yeah,
I'm listening, the music. I'm on YouTube and people, YouTube videos, and I'm practicing and practicing. And I need to get my language like enrolled again in a language school. So,
yeah,
or at least get a tutor. I did have a tutor at one point, and those things are really helpful. But it's like you said, it's that everyday thing. My goal is to get my 5-year residency, right?
yeah.
So as part of that, there's a language component. So
Yes,
I'm
there is.
I've got 2 years to get this thing together to where I meet is it B2? I think B2 fluency or
Yeah.
something like that. So I've got 2 years to get it together.
Ok. Est-ce que tu es confortable, par exemple, c'est quoi ton plat préféré en France?
I know you said, "What am I comfortable with?" I
Non,
can
non.
recognize some words.
Quel est ton plat préféré en France?
What do I prefer in France?
Mhm. Ton plat, ta nourriture préférée?
Oh, you said temperature?
No, it's like, what is your favorite meal? What is your
Oh,
favorite
my favorite
food?
meal. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I
Nourriture?
love
Yeah.
nature. Okay, so
Mm.
okay. So that's the thing. Yeah, I didn't recognize certain words that you said.
Yeah.
For me, I love French desserts.
Okay.
I
La
love
crème brûlée?
gâteaux,
Yeah.
croissants,
Yeah.
croissants amandes. Um, I love all like tarts. I love all the beignets,
Le
all of that.
flan?
Yes, that too. I love all of that. I love going to the patisserie or the
Oh, la
boulangerie.
boulangerie? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
La baguette chaude?
Yes.
The hot baguette?
Yes.
Yeah. You know
Yes.
what? Feel free when you want, honestly. Um, if you want to have a chat, let's say a 5 minute a day or a 10 minute a day, practice French, hit me, send me a message and say, okay. And then I'll be happy to discuss with you a little bit in French and help you just like have your daily, language yeah,
Thank
discussion.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
honestly.
you.
Do you use Duolingo?
I
Duolingo.
d I was using, not Duolingo, like Pimsleur. Before I moved over, I was trying to use Pimsleur. It's a
Yeah.
different language app. I'm not really as good as with the apps as much. I find that my challenge is that I'm texting a lot in French, right?
Mm,
The challenge is that the texting and me looking at it, but then when you go to pronounce it,
it's
it's
different.
different.
Yeah.
And so that kinda, like, got me a little bit. And it still gets me, and it's still like I have to constantly ask people to repeat
It's
or,
okay.
or I'm like, I'll make out some words and try to figure out
Yeah.
the rest of it.
Yeah. And I'm sure when I asked you the question about food, I took you off guard and you panicked and you overthink it.
Yeah, that
You
too.
know, because
That
I'm
too.
sure if you left yourself go and like, okay, well, it's not my language. I'm learning it. It's okay. Like somebody will tell me you can't speak English. When I just arrived here, I'm like, do you want to have that conversation in French then? Like you see what I mean? It's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
what is one? Oh, sorry. Do you want to say something? Go on.
No, I was just going to say, people say that, well, just speak French. And I think for me, because I'm a communicator, right? Like back home, I'm a like a former journalist.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm a former communicator. I'm working on these campaigns for all these companies and clients, and I feel sometimes illiterate, and I don't like that feeling. So
Yeah.
people just say, "Well, speak French," and I'm like, "No, I don't. The subject and verb have, I don't. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
The grammar." And so but I need to know, like, I will feel better when I can have a decent conversation.
Yeah.
Like I
But
will feel like I have arrived.
absolutely. But don't get hung over the verbs because the verb in French are crazy and you don't use them in real life. Like le
Okay.
plus que parfait, l'imparfait, these are, there's a lot of verb in French, sorry, that you would not use. If you can
Yes.
use the present, future, past, that's
Yes.
perfect. That's what you need to talk to have a daily conversation. So we make language more complicated than it is usually.
Yeah.
And that's even myself because I'm learning Spanish as well. So yes,
Okay. Spanish. Okay. Nice.
yes.
Nice.
So and Swahili. I'm trying to learn too many languages. Um,
Nice.
right. So is there one French habit that you've adopted?
Let's see, a French habit. That's a good question. I would say, um, definitely like the croissants,
Hmm.
and but I had to slow down. Like when I went to the doctor, my doctor was like, "Wait a minute, like your cholesterol."
Oh,
And she was like, "Are you like what are you eating?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm eating a lot of croissants. Like I'm going to the boulangerie quite a bit." So I had to kind of slow down,
yeah,
and I had to like stop eating like I'm a tourist, right? Because when
yeah.
you're a tourist and you're visiting, France, right? You're like you're eating all the things. You're going to the
You sample
boulangerie,
everything.
but I realized it's like, well, French people, like, they don't eat a croissant a day. They don't. And so I was just eating and just yeah, I had to slow down.
Okay, okay.
So,
And what is one thing that you will never get used to in France?
I will probably never get used to, I think, like, sometimes there can be a very negative approach, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes I'll never get used to French bureaucracy.
Oh
Never
Lord,
ever.
yes.
Never ever.
Uh,
Um, sometimes I feel like as a culture, sometimes the French can be a little negative. Like
yeah.
sometimes as an American, we're kind of taught like, oh, you can do it, let's try it. And it's different here. The attitude is a bit different.
Pessimist. Huh?
Yes.
French people are quite pessimist.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I totally agree. And were you a coffee drinker before moving to France?
I was. Yes, I
Oh,
still
okay.
am. Yeah. Yeah. Still am. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because the one thing that French people like to have is a black coffee. And when moved in the UK, I'm now into tea.
Oh, you're into tea. I was going to ask, are you getting the flat white? Because yeah, it,
Black
black.
coffee with nothing in it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I love coffee, and I try to cut back because the more you age, I
Yeah.
think it's not so much. It's not so good to drink too much coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tanisha,
Yeah.
it's so. It was so much a pleasure to talk to you, and I would love to
Absolutely.
continue that conversation because I have other topics that I would like to talk to you about. And so before we go, is there anything else that we have not spoke about that you would like us to discuss today?
No, I think you've asked me some great questions. Thank you for bringing me on your channel, and thank you for allowing me to share my experience in your lovely native country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And so where can people follow your journey?
They can follow me on YouTube at
Uh,
Tanisha, Tenisha underscore Mercer, Mercer, on
Yeah.
YouTube. It's my channel, like the Paris Life Abroad channel.
Okay.
Also on Facebook at the spelling of my name on Facebook as well. I'm also on TikTok at the Laugh Ministry, Instagram as well. So just check it out. Check me
How
out.
do you do TikTok? I need a teach. I don't understand TikTok. I have
It's
a TikTok, but I did never posted anything that somebody else is posting for me time to time.
TikTok is it's still for those quick videos, right? Like you just
Yeah,
boom, 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 quick. I'm trying to build up. It's like I have my personal brand on TikTok, and so now I'm trying to build up a different brand. So I'm kind of redoing some things. But yeah, it's different.
excellent. So, any
Yeah.
last word of wisdom for Black women dreaming to leave, living abroad, taking a sabbatical?
Just I would just say just do it if at all possible. Whether you can take, if it's 1 month, 2 months, or a year like you're trying to take or whatever,
Yeah,
take the sabbatical, take the trip if at all possible, go to some different places. Watch your channel for inspiration, watch mine. Exodus Summit is a great resource. Like we're rooting for you and we're cheering for you and we're supporting you. So um my life now is very different than I thought my life would look like 20 years ago. I could not necessarily imagine this for myself. So I feel like, if I can do it, have, again, having 3 kids, you know, in college at the same time, whatever, I, I just had to keep on going and eventually know that you know, this was a plan. And so I had to stick to the plan. And so I just encourage Black women to stay motivated, stay traveling, and live your best life.
excellent. Something just came to me. How is life in France compared to the US? Is it more expensive, more less expensive?
For me, it is less expensive. So even though I'm in a tiny, studio duplex, right?
Yes.
And my
Okay.
space is very small for what I pay, but it's just me.
That's France for
But
you. That's
yeah,
Paris for you.
but you know what though? It's kinda like for some people, like I've had friends that come here and they're like, "I don't know how you do it," and I couldn't do it. And I just look at it like I'm not trying to duplicate the US
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I could do that perhaps if I went to the suburbs and got a bigger house or, bigger place or whatever. But I'm very focused on this is what my life looks like now, and it's very different than what it used to look like in the US. I don't want the same thing, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a different time for me. So
Exactly.
so yeah, I think it's like I had to get used to the space limitations. That is sometimes still a challenge for me. Like just pray for me because I'm like, yeah,
I'm laughing because I know how the houses are small in France compared to the UK, and it's an
yeah.
adjustment. You have to come with an open mind and understand that it's a different way of living. So
Exactly. And that's kind of how that's the attitude you have to have. It's different. Now, expense wise, you also asked about expenses, right? For
yeah,
me, food is so much more cheaper and it's so much better
yeah,
here, right? Travel, because I travel a lot. I wanted to make sure that I was traveling from a place to where I can get to other places easy. So it's nothing to come to London, get on a train, go to Amsterdam, go to Luxembourg. I'm not far if I want to like take a flight to, I don't know, Ghana or wherever, right? I'm not far. So my travel expenses are definitely like lower in a lot
yeah.
of ways. But generally, my costs are lower. My expenses are about anywhere from 30 to 50% less.
Wow,
Healthcare
that is
healthcare
good.
is not a part of my expense. I used to
Yeah,
pay so much money for healthcare every month in the US. I don't have
right.
that cost anymore. So,
So you have la sécurité sociale?
um, I I'm really bad at this one. I still have not applied, but I'll be
Really?
honest with you. I know I have to, but I will be honest with you. The cost in the US, you cannot afford healthcare without insurance. Here, I have because of my visa, right? I have the séjour visa,
Mm-hmm.
the and so it's the long stay visitor visa. Because a requirement of that is that you have healthcare, you buy it up front.
Yeah.
It's 700 euro,
Yeah.
and I can go to the doctor
Yeah.
for 40 euro.
Yeah.
If an English speaking physician is 100 in my neighborhood, that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit,
Yeah.
but it's affordable. That's my point. I know that in the US, a healthcare condition can bankrupt you. Here,
Yeah.
it's not the same.
Yeah. It's a yeah. That's what's amazing about France, definitely, and that's why we're coming back home soon. Oh my goodness, it was a pleasure. I could talk to you all day long, but yeah, thanks ever so much for agreeing to join me today. And yes, we had so much fun. And
We did. Thank
guys,
you so much.
thank you. Yeah, and please, guys, go see Tanisha's channel. She has a lot to offer. She has so many subjects. You've been talking about the American crisis. You talk about a lot of subject as well on your channel.
I do. I've been talking more about politics, and at first
Yeah.
I was a little nervous about that. I'm definitely a political person, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
sometimes when people think just travel, oh, light subjects. I don't want to talk about think about politics. Well, politics impact travel. They really
Yeah.
do. Politics
Absolutely.
impact immigration, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I've been kind of doing more political content because you've got all these black people in America and so many want to leave.
Yeah. I
So
know.
many want to go to some other places.
Yeah.
So yeah, politics impacts that.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks ever so much. And
Thank
I
you.
shall talk to you soon.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye,
Take
friends.
care. Bye
Bye.
bye.